Antoine Semenyo has a release clause that has been confirmed by Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook. And before people, I know everyone has opinions on journalists, but these are two people who have largely been very reliable on the Arsenal front. But I'll go one step further and say that they were the two people that declared Arsenal's interest in Eze earlier in the window. So their information has been largely very good on the transfer front. But when it comes to Antoine Semenyo, I'll be very honest with you all now and say Arsenal haven't been linked, or maybe certainly in previous windows, but not in like a recent weeks or anything. The reason I want to talk about it is because he's a player that Arsenal fans have wanted. He's a player that's in brilliant form for Bournemouth, who's getting better and better with every passing season. He's a player who I think fits perfectly what Arsenal and Arteta have typically looked for in a left winger, who's Premier League proven. There's lots of things. With that as well, it's also worth talking about the reshuffling of the pack from an attacking perspective. And I think when you see Martinelli score the goal he scored for Brazil the other day, and you look at the goals he scored this season for Arsenal, he makes very good runs in behind, penetrative runs from a striker's position. He's got a really good instinct for movement in central spaces, and he's got a very, very good finish. So all of that has really got me thinking about whether Arsenal should go and make a move for a Semenyo and that release clause, which we don't know the exact number yet, but we can venture a guess, and whether we should reshuffle the pack in terms of the use of players like Martinelli, what happens with Trossard, and things like that. So let's go into it. A bit of a waffly intro there, but quite a bit I want to cover in this video to sort of explain why I thought it was worth doing. Now, with Semenyo, again, confirmation of release clause. He signed a new deal with Bournemouth in the summer, which surprised people. I think a lot of people thought he might be on the market. The likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, even Arsenal, even Liverpool were looking at wingers and forwards, and the feeling was that Semenyo just felt like such an obvious pickup in terms of Premier League proven, incredibly graceful and skillful and wonderfully technical footballer, great with both feet, really powerful, really direct, good pace, really good in the one-on-one. Look at some of the goals he scored this season. He can terrorise teams by himself. And that is, dare I say, a little bit of a lost art in the game, in my opinion. I don't think you find those types of players too much anymore. And he's blossomed into a wonderful, wonderful footballer. And I think if he is available, Arsenal should be looking at that. Now, when a player has a release clause, they are available. That is essentially what it means. If you pay this money, you've got the player. Now, of course, the player needs to agree to the deal, but you're sort of assuming that that would be the case if you're even looking to launch or activate the release clause in the first place. Now, Antoine Semenyo has been linked with Manchester United, Tottenham, and I have a feeling Liverpool might come in for him too at some point. With Arsenal, I just think to myself, we should be ready for this. We should be ready as we see how our forwards develop over the years. We should be ready to make a move for a player like Semenyo. Now, I know what a lot of you are saying. James, there's no room for him. I mean, our best 11 is probably Saka, Ødegaard and Eze behind Gyökeres. So why would we even want to go for a Semenyo when then you've got Trossard, Martinelli, Dauman, Waneri, Madueke, all these players behind? And I hear your point. But we need to not just keep thinking about the here and now. We need to look at what the squad might be looking at in January. We need to look at what the situation might be in the summer next year. I'm going to sneeze, aren't I? I'm fighting for my life not to sneeze in this video. Thank you so much for waiting. Okay, we pulled through. Goonerverse news is too funny, isn't it? Sorry about that. What do you want me to do? I'm 3 minutes in. I'm not going to start recording again. Right. We need to start looking at what happens from the summer onwards as well, from next summer onwards, because teams are always reinventing themselves and always replenishing the stock. Now, I agree we have a whole heap of options right now. But what if Kai Havertz, who doesn't seem close to signing a new deal, has 2 years left come next summer and is thinking, you know what, they've signed Gyökeres, I've done okay here, I'm wanted back in Germany, Bayern Munich wanted Voltemada and never got him, so maybe Bayern are looking to bring in a player like Kai Havertz in. You know, what do Arsenal do then? What do Arsenal do with a player like Kai Havertz, and what do they do to replace him in the squad? And then you've got Gabi Jesus, who I've absolutely no doubt won't be here beyond January, let alone the summer. I mean, I'd be amazed if he's a part of our squad going to 26, 27. And then you've got Trossard, who, you know, good player. And I know he's just signed a new deal, but that was on a pay rise. We didn't extend the terms of his deal. So you feel like he's going to be available, though he's starting a lot of games at the moment. Martinelli hasn't been anyone's favourite player for a while. So when you look at all that, you think to yourself, that's 4 players in what has been a squad built with incredible depth right now. It's 4 players who I think could all be gone next summer. And Arsenal therefore need to keep looking, need to keep reinventing and keep replenishing the stock. So I think we should be in the conversation for a player like Antoine Semenyo. Now, some of you are maybe big fans of Martinelli and think, okay, or Havertz and think, okay, however you do that though, I don't want some of my favourite players to leave to accommodate Semenyo. Well, the beauty of Semenyo is I think he can play up front and on the left, even on the right. He covers so many positions. So I don't think you're signing someone who has to play out on the left first and foremost. But secondly, maybe we can reinvent the position of a Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli, look at the goals he scored this season. Off the bench in Bilbao, that beautiful running behind. The finish, I think the keeper could have done a bit better, but he ultimately scored it, and he's made it with a brilliant piece of skill and a brilliant run, and he's given Arsenal the lead in Spain in a crucial Champions League tie for us. Impact off the bench. He then comes on against Man City, and again, a goal from a central position where he sees Eze's got the ball, he's made a run in behind, Eze's picked him out, and it's a wonderfully lifted finish over Donnarumma in goal. And Arsenal seal quite a crucial point in the end, a point that keeps us a point clear of Liverpool now at the top of the table. And in a game, in a day where Arsenal was struggling, Martinelli came up with a real moment of magic from a striker's position. And then you look at the goal he scored for Brazil the other day, another chip ball over the top, central kind of run, and he finishes it well. And I look at it and I just think, Martinelli's done his best work from central positions at Arsenal, but we know that we don't ask our left winger to tuck in next to the striker and play as a narrow front three. We don't do that. That's why I've always felt he'd be so suited to Klopp's Liverpool and the way they used Mane and Salah really tucked in next to Firmino. Martinelli would have been brilliant for them. And then there was a time when Martinelli's skill and flair really came to the fore, and we were all sort of rating what a brilliant touchline winger he was, but he's been a little bit found out in that situation. So you kind of want him to have the freedom of the pitch to run into different areas. Look at the goal he scored at Anfield the other month. What was it? May, I think. Again, from a striker's position. So Martinelli can do things as a 9. And I'm not opposed to next season our options being Saka and Madueke, of course there's Dalman as well, Werner and Odegaard as your 10s, Eze and Semenyo, someone who tucks on the inside, someone who plays more as a touchline winger, with Martinelli, Gyökeres, and maybe Havertz stays, or maybe Jesus stays, or maybe another striker comes in, or maybe they think that's enough because you've got Werner as a 3rd player and there's plenty of cover there. I don't know, but my point is, I think reinventing Martinelli to make space for Semenyo isn't a bad idea when Havertz is on mega money, Jesus is on mega money and can't stay fit, and I imagine Trossard's going to go too. And I think, well, of all of them, Havertz and Martinelli are the 2 I'd like to keep, but from a financial perspective, Martinelli probably makes more sense and is as productive as Kai Havertz. Although Havertz is a flavour of striker that Arteta really likes. So yeah, just some thoughts there. There's a release clause for Semenyo, and I think Arsenal should go activate that come next summer and be on their toes in January in case something happens with one of those 4 other forwards I've mentioned. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but they're not going to want to go anywhere. Listen, things can change massively in football. If Martinelli's on the bench for another, 2.5 months, through to the end of Christmas, January 1st, he sat there thinking, I haven't been a starter since Anfield in game week 3. Martinelli might well just go, it's been fun, but I need to go play football somewhere else, especially in a World Cup year. That could be true of Trossard, that could be true of so many players. So don't rule out the idea. But Gabriel Jesus, if he can put together a good 4 months of form from December, January onwards, he might have hopes of being in the Brazil squad. So don't rule out these players wanting to leave and Arsenal having to be on their toes. And I think if they are, Semenyo is the deal you do. And if there's a release clause, what is it, 60, 70, 80, 90 million? Look, there's not a lot of players on the market who are Premier League proven and you feel really kind of sure about them. I'm sure if Semenyo arrived at Arsenal, he'd make an impact. And Bert has shown that he can do deals quickly, he can do big deals, he can juggle multiple deals, and he can really beef up this Arsenal squad. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, everyone. The Goonerverse podcast is out. Sure, go check that out. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you all in a bit.